Okay, this morning we processed our Maulana bicolor Aulonocara stuartgranti. Once again, you notice that that terminal I on a Latin name is pronounced long E. Interestingly enough, if you have two I's, it's pronounced IE. That's just Latin for you. But I'm going to continue to use proper Latin. So stuartgranti. And basically what that means is Stuart grants Aulonocara cichlid. These are our three breeder males. We have 7 strains of stuartgrantis. I'm really shocked that the splitters haven't split those into 7 different species. These are fairly typical of the fish. Look something like flavescence, except for flavescence, the yellow extends across the body, not just on the shoulder. It's a nice fish. I'm going to put these guys in a bucket while I talk a little bit about these fish. I mentioned splitters. In taxonomy, there are 2 groups, roughly, of people. There are those who split and those who lump, splitters and lumpers. Splitters seem to be a lot more common than lumpers. I had a hard time coming up with an example of lumping. In fact, I couldn't find any in fish. I did find some in Texas harvester ants, or harvester ants in general. There used to be a species of Pogonomyrmex that was called Texas harvester ant, but a lumper came along and took all the various, probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 species from California across to Texas and moved them back into one species, Barbatus. And so it's no longer Texas harvester ant, it's harvester ant, or as they're called locally here, red ants. They're large. They have a pretty nasty sting, but they rarely sting. At any rate, that's the only example I could find of lumpers. And lumpers are lumping. Lumpers basically look at it and say, this is just a variable, widespread species. I'm going to put them all into one species, use the oldest name. In the case of the pogos, Barbatus was the oldest name, so it replaced all the others. Splitters, however, take a widespread species and end up splitting them out into separate species. I'm surprised this hasn't happened with stuartgranti. Like I say, we have 7 different collections of stuartgrantis. And the reason that splitters are fairly common compared to lumpers is that when you describe and name a new species, you get your name put after it. Scientifically, it's usually in parentheses after it. That indicates you named it. So if you want to go down in history, you name a species and your name is forever attached to it. An example of a recent split was Xenotoca iceni. The genus, that's a live-bearing, non-facilidae live-bearing fish from the Central Plateau of Mexico. There are 40 or 50 species of them. They're called Goliads, generally in the hobby. And Xenotoca, the genus had 2 species, Xenotoca iceni and Xenotoca variatus. But recently, iceni was split up, I think, into 4 different species by someone based upon geographic location. The fish look remarkably alike. I wouldn't want to throw fish from one river in with fish from another river and try to sort them out. But they found some reason to split them. So now we have, I think, 4 species where we had 1. And that's fairly typical. And I haven't gone back to look at the literature. It's possible that somebody's already split stuartgranti. I can't imagine that they're going to let these fish that look a little bit different and come from different reefs not get a new specific or species name. At any rate, I'm going to put these males up. We've already put the females up. Susie, let me get back over here to the chart. We had a small breeding colony of only 24 fish, but we got, looks like around 250, 275 fish out. So fairly successful. I was able to, from some smaller fish we had last time, what we call BRUs, which stands for breeder unsexed. I'd set those aside last time to grow them up, and I was able to add females. So we are now up to, our breeding colony's up to 3 males, 20 older females, and 21 new females. So 44 fish. I'd like to get about a half dozen more females in there, and next breeding cycle we will. Good fish keeping.